Moving to a new country is thrilling, but it brings new challenges. Among the biggest ones, finding the right bank. Local U.S. banks require appointments at a physical branch, address proofs, and sometimes deposits of up to $1,500. The entire process can take weeks. Moving across borders means leaving your credit score behind. Banks won't issue credit cards without one, but without a credit card, you can't build a credit score. Chicken and egg, isn't it? A lower credit score means expensive rental deposits, high interest on loans, and lower chances of qualifying for a job. Forex cards and international debit cards carry markups and may not work at some merchants. So when moving to a new world, why settle for banking that just isn't your style? Introducing Zolve. We make your US move seamless. Get a US bank account in minutes from the comfort of your home and transfer money before you travel. Zolve offers credit cards with a limit of up to $10,000 without an SSN or credit score. Choose a reward plan, earn cashbacks, and build your US credit score from day one. Zolve reports to all 3 credit bureaus. That's not all. Get a US SIM card with up to 30% cheaper plans and access affordable health insurance, renter's insurance, and car loans. Join a community of 400,000 Zolvers from over 100 countries. Get Zolve today.
Hello everyone and welcome to this Visa webinar by Zolve. I am Manshu Gupta and I am a part of business team at Zolve. I am very happy to welcome you all for this insightful session where we will be busting myths about US visa appointment. We will be talking about the mindset of a visa officer, and towards the end of the session, we will be taking your questions and try to solve it with the visa specialist. So without any further ado, let me welcome Sanjay Kaushik sir. Sanjay Kaushik sir is a visa specialist and have worked with US Embassy in New Delhi for more than 2 decades. Hello sir, welcome to the event sir.
Very happy to be on the Zolve, and I've been associated with Zolve for a while now. And you guys be doing a very great job by bringing in students to create an environment which is going to be extremely comforting for them, because we'll be also talking about what goes behind the interviews, how to schedule an interview, and we'll be busting a lot of myths, right, Manshi? So let me first start talking about the myth about the visa appointments. If we go on to the US Travel Docs, the official website of the US Embassy, as soon as you click on the non-immigrant, there's a pop-up that comes up. And if you read the important notice, the pop-up very clearly mentions that the fall session would start releasing the appointments in the month of June and July. So if you're looking for your appointments now, let me tell you, you will not find any appointments as of now, because like I said, Embassy has already made an announcement which is very clear that for the fall session of 2024, the students, those who are going in September, they would start releasing the appointments in the month of June and July, which means that this is the time when you should be ready with your I-20, complete your visa form called DS-160, and pay the visa application fees and your service fees, so that as soon as the appointments are released, you can schedule those interviews. Now, also, I hear a lot of questions that come in, should I check at 2:30 at night or early in the morning? All those things are not required, because the embassy understands that the students have received their I-20s and they are now waiting to get their appointments. So that's the reason they've already made an announcement on their website, which is official website, saying that they would be releasing appointments for all the students going in the month of June and July. What I assume is that sometime end of April or beginning of May, they would start releasing the appointments where students can start booking their appointments for June and July. Also, let me also make you understand that there is a lot of information on the digital platform which talks about how to get an appointment, or there are certain agents who would help you get the appointments. But let me also bust this myth first, that we assume that the I-20 is coming from the university. Anybody who's received an I-20, please look at the top left of the I-20. It says very clearly that the I-20 is also coming from the Department of Homeland Security and also from the USCIS, which is the United States Citizen and Immigration Services. If these two departments are involved in issuing the I-20, I'm pretty sure that the numbers would also be translated or provided to the visa offices across the globe. So if anybody who's applying for a visa in India, and once you pay the service fees, it is very clear that you would be now waiting for your appointments to come in. So I'm sure that the numbers would match up of, which is going to be the number of I-20s and the number of slots which are going to be released by the embassy. So I don't think so that you should be stressing out now, as of today, or in the coming weeks. I'm sure by the end of April or beginning of May, you will start seeing that the embassy has started opening the slots, and you would start getting those slots very easily. It's not that there will be limited number of slots. You know, so there'll be thousands of slots that will open up. If I look at what happened last year, in 2023 fall, you see the number of students that were issued visas was close to about 140,000 students. 1.5 lakh students के करीब जिनको visas मिला, which means the slots were available. All right. It's not that I as an agent or anyone as an agent can block a seat and then release it for somebody else. That's not possible, because you all are now going in for, let's say, an undergrad or a master's. When you fill in your visa application form and you create your profile, your name and date of birth and your passport number are the most crucial aspect to get your appointment. And nobody can actually go ahead and change that. So it is up to you, that you should have a little bit of patience, just hold on. I'm sure in the coming weeks or the next month, you'll start seeing the appointments that will come up. All right. Now, most important thing is that when you're filling your visa form, the DS-160, make sure that the DS-160, the information on that is absolutely correct. Review it before you actually go ahead and submit your application, because once you submit your application, then you can't go retrieve and make changes. Then you have to either fill a new one, and when you go in for a visa interview, then you have to possibly carry two DS-160s, right? So make sure that before you submit your DS-160, your information on that is absolutely correct and authentic. Also check your passports, because sometimes on your passport your given name and your surname is put together. It's not bifurcated. If that's the case, then you have to mention your entire name in your surname, and your given name has to be blank, and it should go as an FNU according to the visa regulation. However, this is the time for you to actually go and get your passport corrected if there are any alterations or any changes that you require at this point of time, right? So, as far as the appointments are concerned, once again, I'm reiterating that the embassy website says very clearly, for the fall session, which will start in September, they will release a lot of appointments in the month of June and July. So anyone who's going in the beginning of June or in May would get would have difficulty in scheduling the appointments, because even if you go and read the instructions or the important notice by the embassy, they say it, or they mention it very clearly, that anyone who's going in the mid session, they may not be getting an appointment. There is no provision for an emergency appointment request as well. So they are mentioning it clearly, saying that if you're going during the month of May in the mid session, ask your university to actually defer your admission for the fall session. So please read that important notice carefully. All right. And so I would request Manchi to come ahead, and if they have any questions on that, please feel free to ask me. Thank you, Manchi. Hi, Manchi. Manchi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. So Dharini is asking, my admission date is 31st July. Will they release mass slot release before that?
Oh yes, definitely. Like I said, they will be releasing the appointment sometime towards the end of April or beginning of May for June and July. So I'm sure that if you're going towards the end of July, you would be getting an appointment easily. So don't worry at all.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now Divya is asking, if I am on a holiday in another country, can I still book visa appointment in that country, or I need to book visa appointment in India only?
Okay, so it's a good question, because a lot of people on the internet and on the platform are saying that you can actually go to a third country. Well, that is true, that you can actually book your appointment in a third country. However, we need to understand it very clearly. What is the visa law? The law says that you have to show strong ties to your home country. right? So whenever you're applying for a visa in your home country, even there you have to prove that you've got strong ties to your home country. If you're applying for your visa in a third country, then it would be difficult for the officer to ascertain your ties to your home country. So it's going to be a chance. So my suggestion would be that it is better to apply for your visa in your home country and your home state itself. That would be a better idea rather than going into another country. And also, if you look at the appointment wait time in other countries, which are neighboring countries, they have equal amount of wait times. So I don't think so. It would be a good idea, according to me. However, you're free to take a call. Like I said, it's difficult, or it becomes difficult for the visa officer to ascertain your ties to your home country when you're applying for your visa in a third country. So take a call on that, please. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Now we have one question from backbenchers. He is asking, "Hi, sir. What is the number of slots may open for this fall?"
Well, hi backbenchers. I work with them also closely. Like there's a company called Black Backbenchers, and I've always been a backbencher in my class as well. Though, okay, so the slots, like I said in the beginning, if you look at the I-20 on the top left, it says Department of Homeland Security and the USCIS. So the number of I-20s which are being issued, I am sure that the numbers will be then given to the Department of State, which is the visa office, and they would try and match up those numbers. So there'll be bulk slots available for most of the students. It's not that the numbers would have a mismatch. Also, like I said, the last year, the highest number of visas were issued for student visas. So starting towards the end of April or beginning of May, there would be lot of appointments available for June and July for students. Thank you.
So we'll take couple of more questions and then we'll move to our next topic.
Hmm.
So Kevin here is asking, how long is student visa valid for, and what happens if passport expires during the duration of my visa?
Okay. So largely the student visas, according to the two countries' reciprocity, India and the US, the validity of the US student visa largely is 5 years. However, that 5 year visa does not allow a student to stay in the US or live in the US for 5 years, right? So once a visa is issued, when you reach at the port of entry, the immigration officer will look at your case. Again, he will take a couple of, he'll ask you a couple of questions and then decide to allow you to enter the US. When they allow you to enter the US, you'll get a form called I-94. Now that I-94 usually is limited to the duration of your I-20, right? So this is a very good question, and understand, once you get your I-20, and your visa could be 5 years, but your program could be for 2 years. When you enter the US, your I-94 is valid for only according to the I-20, which could be 2 years. And from there, if you want to change your status to an OPT or to work visa, then you have to go to your ISSO office, which is the Student Scholars Office in your university, and provide them with the relevant documents to allow you and take permission from the immigration to extend your I-94. So what I'm trying to tell you is, once you enter the US, then your visa and your passport is taken over by the I-94, the length of stay provided by the immigration. However, to answer your question, if your passport, let's say, is valid for 2 years, and if your visa is issued for 5 years, and once your visa passport expires, you can go to the nearest Indian embassy and get your passport renewed. Once you get your passport renewed, you can attach both the passports and travel. Your US visa on the previous passport remains valid for your travel. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we'll take last question for now, and then we'll take questions towards the end of the event. So I'll request everyone to stay tuned, and we'll try to address each one of your questions, but towards the end of the event. So we'll take question from Akul Kadam, who says, "My sibling has received H-1B in April this month. Does that affect my visa chances, and can I make this my strength and not my weakness?"
Oh, absolutely. Akul, it's a good question, because a lot of people do ask me this question that, if I have a sibling over there, will that, decrease my chances of getting a visa? Well, that's not true, because if you look at the cultural difference between, us and the Americans, they believe that, every individual has their own career path. If you believe that, this US education would really help you achieve your career objectives, so your focus should be on the choice of college. What are the subjects that you want to go and study there, and what are your career goals that you want to achieve after completing those skill sets that you will receive from there, and how will that help you in returning back to your home country eventually. So having your sibling receiving an H1 does not have a negative effect. You could always mention during the interview that my brother completed his studies there. He was on an OPT. He was on a very important major project, and the company wanted him to continue. Hence, the company filed for an H1 so that he could complete that project because he was bringing a lot of value there, right? So you can bring that up if the officer asks you, and build that into a kind of an answer which talks about his value addition to the company. So that would really help you and your brother as well. So it's not a negative. So don't worry. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you, sir. Now we'll move ahead to the next topic, which is where we want to discuss the mindset of a visa officer.
All right, fantastic. Right, so that's a very very important point because a lot of people don't understand, and they also believe that before they go in for the interview, the officer has already made a decision on the visa application, which is not true. It's not that the officer would have predetermined your application and he would have read your application completely and then he would have made a decision. So US visa is based on interview. So any interview is subjective. What you say and what the other person could understand could be two different things. However, if you understand what is the visa law, the law says that any student who's going to the US first must prove or show his intentions to go and study there, that you are a legitimate student, you have a reason to go there, right? Because you have certain skill sets which would really take you to the next level, or this higher education, or which is research that you want to get involved in, would really build your career. So you have to be very focused in understanding what are your career objectives. Where do you see yourself after completing your program? You must know your program, right? And then, more importantly, the officer wants to know what are the reasons they'll bring you back, because the law says any student who's applying for a student visa should be considered as a potential immigrant until proven otherwise. So you have to show your reasons of coming back. You have to show your intentions, that you understand what's happening in India and you want to come back and contribute for your career growth here, right? So most of the time when students go there, they have a very cliched answer, which is going to be like, why do you want to go and study in the US? So they would say, I want to go and do my master's. Once again, a lot of information which is on the digital platform says that, be brief, only give limited answers. Please understand that the visa officer doesn't know you. There are close to about 800 people or 700 people applying for a visa on a given day. The officer may have only 2 or 3 minutes to make a decision, right? So you have to drive the interview. You have to provide relevant information voluntarily, right? So create a storyline for yourself, right? In that storyline, the most important thing is going to be the course content, the curriculum, the research, right? The skill sets. You have to provide this information so that the officer understands your reason of going there. Not just that, I want to go and do my master's in the US because US education is globally accredited. I would get a lot of global exposure. All those are cliched answers, opposed to an answer where you drive the interview. For example, if the officer says, why do you want to go and study in the US? You start talking about, sir, I've done my BTech here in computer science. I've been working, for example, with, let's say, with ENY. I'm handling consulting over there. And now I want to go and do my specialize in data science because data science is really, really picking up. A lot of decision making process happens through data, right? So once I complete my master's and return back to my home country, my career growth here would be much bigger and better, right? So you're giving him information about the skill sets that you have identified, which would really help you grow professionally. Now, the second question could be, why have you chosen this university? Most of the time, the students would say that, I've chosen this university because they would straight away start talking about the university ranking. They would start talking about the professors, the research, and all of that. And sometimes the students would make blunder by saying that, this university is offering me a full scholarship. Or they would say that, one of my friend who was studying over there suggested that this is one of the universities which is good. Or they would say that, I've chosen this university because it is affordable, right? Or they would say that I've chosen this university because it's in a area where the weather is closer to the Indian weather. Those are not the reasons that you're going there for. You're spending hundreds and thousands of dollars not because you want to go into an environment where it is closer to an Indian environment, right? You're going there so that you could improve your skill sets. You could learn new skills. You could compete at the international level, right? So your focus again has to be, when you're choosing a university, that you've done a research, you've applied to various colleges, right? Once you receive the admits, then you've chosen which particular college would really, really benefit you in terms of improving your skill sets. What are the teaching methodologies there? What is the specialization that you're looking at? What are the professors doing over there? Talk specifics about your career goals, about the program that you want to go and enroll for. Know your subjects and incorporate that in your answer, and then talk about your reason of choosing the particular college. Not that it is offering you 100% scholarship. It could be good for you, but that should not be the criteria of choosing a university unless you're going in for a PhD. Once again, there's also very important how you sequence your answers. The officer's mindset is that he has his own data, right? And they make a decision based on their data and your answers. And if the data and the answers come together, it becomes easier for the officer to make a decision in your favor. All right. So please understand that look at your program holistically. Look around what's happening in India. I had a student who came up very with a very, very noble idea, because a lot of students say that I want to come back and do a startup here. So startup means a huge thing. You have to really focus on what kind of a startup you want, right? Now, if you look at the olden days, if I had to go and watch a movie, I had to drive from my home, go to a movie hall, stand in a line, buy a ticket, and if the tickets are not there, then possibly look for someone who is selling it for a higher price. However, Book My Show has brought about a solution here, that I can book a ticket right from here. So that should be your concept. So one of the students who came in and said, "Sir, I want to go and study and create an app where I could allow people to do a parking, because parking is becoming a big problem in India. So I could pre-book my parking at a spot that I want to go." So that his answers would revolve around this concept. So why do you want to go to the US? And I've done my bachelor's here, and I've been working with a startup, and that's what I've realized is that India is facing a lot of issues on parking slots. Families go there and they don't find parking. So I want to create an app, right? But how do I create an app? How do I do how do I create that into a business? That's the reason I've chosen this particular university, because it is offering me the kind of skill sets which would help me develop an app, and also the electives where I can do a business, and finance, because US allows you to do various. You can create your own curriculum. So his answer became a very holistic, that he's found an issue and he wants to solve that issue, right? So create that kind of an environment in your head that if you find a solution, or if you look at a difficulty, how would you solve it? Then your answer becomes much more stronger. It becomes your answer. It does not become a very, very open answer that anybody could give. Now, when we talk about funding, so a lot of people say that hey, my university offering me a 50% scholarship, so should I mention that first? So if or I've taken a complete education loan which covers my entire tuition fees and my living expense, right? So what should be my answer? So now again, let's go back to the visa law. The law says that anyone who's going to the US must show strong ties to the home country. I'm sure you've read this online, you've heard this from a lot of people, but you need to understand what does ties mean. The ties would mean your social ties, your family's financial ties in your home country, and of course your professional goals here, right? So when you're framing an answer, financial ties, when he's asking you how will you fund yourself, you're going to start talking about your family's annual income first, then the savings and investments, then that we also own properties here. In addition to this, I've taken an education loan, because there's a huge difference between financial ties and availability of funds. The officer wants to understand your financial ties, right? So make sure that you sequence your answer in that format. Even if you're getting a full scholarship, still mention that my family is there to support me. We have an annual income of so much, savings, investments, properties. However, because I'm going for a PhD, looking at my credentials, the college has offered me a complete scholarship. So that's how you build that answer, right? And if the officer says, "What are your career objectives, or where do you see yourself 5 years down the line?" So a lot of people say that, hey, I mean, I want to go and work there. So should I tell this to the officer or should I not? Right? Now we have to understand that there are different visa categories for different purposes. If somebody wants to go and study, there's an F1. If somebody wants to go and work, there's an H1. However, because I'm going for a PhD, looking at my credentials, the college has offered me a complete scholarship. So that's how you build that answer, right? And the officer says, "What are your career objectives, or where do you see yourself 5 years down the line?" So a student who's applying for his visa now must focus on his current situation, that his focus today should be education and returning back to the home country. However, you have a built in program called OPT. If you've received your I-20, if you look at the third page, it says travel authorization and your work authorization. So your program itself allows you to work there, do your OPT, and if you're contributing while doing your OPT, which is called the optional practical training, the company, the organization, if you're adding value, would like to retain you, they would go ahead and file an H1 for you, right? So again, it is not you or me who can file an H1, it is the company who requires you. So your current focus should be on returning back to your home country after completing the program. All right. So those are the kind of little insights that you should start working on. First thing is you should have your focus very clear that you want to go and study in the US. So understand your program, understand the course content, the curriculum, right? The professors, and what are the kind of skill sets that you'll get from there. Your focus should be there because you have to first prove that you're a legitimate student. You understand what you want to go and study there, and how will you use that for your career growth once you return back to your home country. So that's the kind of a mindset that the officer comes with when he's taking your interview. So A, they don't take a pre-decision. The interview is subjective, so once you reach there, the officer will open up your case, ask you pertinent questions. He's expecting you to answer those questions, and if you drive that interview and take him and lead him towards your career objectives, then it becomes easier for him to make a decision in your favor. So those are the kind of insights that I would like to share with you. Thank you, Manchi. We can come up again. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. I think you rightly said about funding your education. So Zolve has been helping student, fund their education through education loans. So I would like to
Right.
invite one of my team members, Saurav, who will talk about education loan at Zolve and give a little sneak peek about it. Hi, Saurav.
Hello, hello
Hi, Sarah.
everyone. Hello, sir. So, thanks, Manshi. Thanks, Sanjay sir. Right, I think Sanjay sir has already provided some great insights, right, about the visa process. It will definitely help students, right? So, for everyone, this is Saurabh from the Zol team. I'm here to tell you more about Zol, right? What we do and how we can help you. So, Zolve is basically a financial services company which is New York, right? We help students to the US with their financial services and some pre-departure services as well. So what happens is generally when students move across from India to the US or move across countries, they don't get access to similar banking on financial products, right? As a US resident would get, right? So we identified this gap and have filled this gap, right, for everyone's benefit. We have today helped more than 100K plus students, right, in their journey to the US. At our core, we provide banking services like US bank account, US credit card, and money transfer. But when we were providing these services, a lot of students used to struggle with other kind of services, like their pre-departure services. If I have to name, like suppose student loan, visa assistance, scholarships, US SIM cards, health insurance, and all of that. So we have brought all these services also under one umbrella, and we provide students with these services, right? So now what I can tell is Zolve is a one-stop solution if you need help after your admission related to visa, student loans, scholarships, health insurance, SIM cards, and all of that, right? So if you have any questions about Zolve, you can start putting it in the chat, and we'll take some of your questions as well. Now, if I have to specifically talk about loans, right? What happens is one of the biggest problems students face is to find the correct loan provider for themselves. What students generally do is get in touch with their family, friends, seniors, or some existing loan banking relationships they have. Suppose they have with HDFC or ICICI, they directly reach out to them. But what you don't understand is that every loan requirement is different. Maybe some loan provider would have worked for your friends, but it might not work for you, right? So we try to bridge this gap, right, and help you in the research process and help you get the best loan from the best providers in the market. So because we understand that every case is unique, how we help is basically we have brought around 12 worthy lenders on our platform, and we ask you to fill one simple application form and upload your documents. Once you do this, we give you a list of options of which lenders can provide you the loans. This is the details which you give. So then you don't have to go to suppose 10 different platforms, fill the forms, talk to the lenders one by one, and get help. Right. In this process also, we allocate a dedicated loan officer to you who will be in touch with you throughout your loan process and guide you every step of the way. And we have different type of providers on our platform. Suppose we have private banks like ICICI Access, we have public banks like Union Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, we have NBFCs like SDFC Credla, Auxilo, Avance on our platform, and then we have some international lenders who provide dollar amount loans like Empower and Prodigy. What we But we have to give some additional value to the students. We understand that the loan rates are increasing, the interest rates are increasing, and loans are becoming more and more costly, right? So but we speak for the students. So what we have done is we help you get collateral and non-collateral loans with the best interest rates and the best processing fees through our exclusive partnerships, right? So some of the offers which we bring to the platform are suppose like through Avance and Auxilo, we are providing a 25% off on the processing fees if you pay the processing fees within 2 to 7 days of processing your loan, right? So this is not offered if you directly go to Avance or Auxilo. This is if you go especially only through Zolve. Another offer which we have, exclusive offer which we have got, is suppose ICICI is offering loans up to 1 crore without any financial co-applicant. What a financial co-applicant means is a earning family member, right? Their proof of funds, etc. You don't have to get. If you belong to suppose selected list of universities, and you will also get a discount on the processing fees, right? So similarly, through Empower, which is an international loan provider, we get you a $2,200 worth flight voucher for your supposed trip from India to the US, right? So this you can redeem once you have got the loan, right? And or apart from that, Empower also provides you with internship and job support because you know how the job market etc. is also becoming difficult, right now. So all of this is only if you will go via Zolve to these loan providers. On top of this, what we have done is for attendees who are attending the event today, right? We have a special offer where we can give you 10,000 cashback on your loan processing fees, right? So this is our over and above what offer you get from the loan provider itself. And this offer is only for today, right? What you have to do, we have put the link in the chat in the description or the chat box. You can go click on that link, check your eligibility, and complete your application. You have to complete your application, upload your basic documents, whatever is available with you today, right? Basically, academic and KYC documents might be available, financial documents might not be available. So whatever you have is you sign up and apply today, right? Then only this offer is valid of 10,000 cashback, right? If you have any questions at this point in time, I can take up some of these questions. Manshi, if there are any questions, right? One more thing I would just like to talk to about is referral, right? So even some students might be there who might have already taken a loan, right? But if suppose you might have friends who might not have taken, who might be still thinking about it, etc. So you can tell them about Zol, and you can earn $100 referral bonus, right? $100 saves up a lot of money, suppose for whatever your daily expenses are in the US, etc. So for this, you just have to sign up on Zolve. You will be able to locate a referral link, and you have to share that referral link with your friends. And once they take the loan, you will be eligible to get this referral bonus. If you have any questions, I can take up those questions, and the link is in the chat box, right? So if suppose you are want to apply, you can go ahead right now. We'll wait for a minute or two before resuming the visa session, right? For you to go ahead and apply. If you go back to the previous slide, let me just talk about um, that the offer on of which is available for today, which is the processing fees offer, which is where you can get up to 10,000 cashback on the loan processing fees, right? Apart from whatever offers are there from the banks. I see that there are some questions.
Yeah. So
Chetan,
Akshat
yeah.
is asking, sir, I have sanction letter from HDFC. Can Zolve still help me with the same offers?
So, Akshat, if you already have a sanction letter from SDFC, we can't help you with getting a loan again from SDFC because it will not be possible in their system. What we can help you is we can help you get better deals, etc., from other loan providers. Like ICICI, you see that they are offering unsecured up to 1 crore, or Auxilo or Avance. If you are open to that, then definitely go ahead and click on the link in the chat box and we will definitely help you.
I think Chetan also have similar question. I have sanction offer from Avance applied through Zolve. How can I avail 10K offer and 25% cashback on processing fee?
So, Chetan, if you have already applied through Zolve, right? So and the loan is sanctioned, the terms might be, the terms will not be able to change. We can help you with the loan processing fee cashback part, right? Which is in our hands. If you can drop a email, Manshi, if you can collect the email ID of the user, we can definitely,
Sure, sure.
or you can drop an email to hello@zol.com and then we can take it from there, Chetan.
So this is more of a credit card question.
Yeah.
So Kamala Kar is asking, can I apply for credit card before flying to the US?
Definitely, definitely. So you can definitely apply for the credit card before moving to the US. That's what we do, right? We don't require you to have any US documents for you to apply for the credit card. You just need your passport, visa, I-20 letter. These are the basic documents which are needed. Once you submit all the documents, right, you will be able to will and as soon as you land in the US, you can start using your credit card from the first day. Suppose you have to book your Uber ride from the airport to your hotel or your hostel, definitely you can go ahead and do that, right? From the Zolve through the Zolve card.
So Mr. Anonymous is asking, I have already got sanctioned from ICICI Bank of 60 lakhs non-collateral. I need more amount to cover up my tuition fee and living expenses. Can Zolve take over the application and increase the loan?
So definitely, so we can help here, right? So suppose if you want to increase the amount, ICICI might not be able to increase, but you can get another loan or a top-up loan. That's what a lot of students do. We have more than other 11 providers apart from ICICI, whom you can get loans from the top-up perspective, right? So in ICICI, we might not be able to help a lot in increasing the amount, but definitely we can help you get more funds.
We have one last question from Jyoti. She's asking, what's the average confirmation time for loan from ICICI Bank?
So, if you understand some of these loan providers like ICICI, etc., um, are move like were previously slow, etc. Now they have become very fast, right? And they know the season is the everyone is looking for loans right now. Because of that, there might be some delays, but generally it happens within 7 to 10 business days maximum,
So
right? Because
Hiral is, yeah,
because
sorry.
why 7 to 10? Because there might be some of the documents you might have missed, or they might be requiring those documents. Because of that, there might be some delays.
Yeah. So Hiral is asking, what's the best rate currently for ICICI in non-collateral?
For non-collateral, you can get anywhere somewhere around 11% and above.
Cool. I think we'll take one last question,
Yeah.
which is from Bumpy's Dig 10. How does refinancing work if we proceed through Prodigy or Empower?
So refinancing is slightly different, I would say, right? It's not as fairly simple as taking a new loan, right? But they have refinancing options. Um, that you have to fill a simple application form for Empower, etc. And then they collect the information: who is the current lender, what is the school. If you fall under their list of schools, etc., then they can help you with refinancing. The thing with Empower and Prodigy is they have specific list of 400, 450, or 500 schools which they offer loan for, right? But in detail, if you want to know more about how can apply for refinancing through Zolve, then you please drop an email to hello@zolve.com and we'll help you, right? Alternatively, what you can, Manchi, if you can put the link for everyone's benefit, right? You can also go ahead and fill our application form, and through that, our loan expert will get in touch with you and we will help you with the refinancing process as well.
Sure. So I put the email ID. I'll also put the link once again so that people can go ahead and check their eligibility
Yeah,
and
yeah.
apply for the loan.
Yeah, I just like to highlight that the offer is only for today, right? You have to fill the application today and upload some basic documents, whatever you have available, right? So basically, if you have not got any sanctions, etc., if you have got sanction from one bank, if you want to explore other options, right? Or in any scenario, you can go ahead and fill the application form. It doesn't hurt you, right? In any way, and you can get a source of funds, right, for your I-20 or whatever, right? Even if you don't have an admission right now, Credla offers loans without admission letter also. So that can also be an option for you. I think we can take more questions towards the end of the session if there are any. I think let's bring back Sanjay sir. Right, students would be wanting to hear him.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
thank you so much, Saurav. Yeah, we should now get back to answering visa questions. Students are like flooding the chat box with questions.
Okay.
So I just want to tell everyone that for the next 30 minutes, we will be taking a visa question and we'll try to address each and every one of your questions. So yeah, please drop your questions again on the chat box so that we can, go one by one and answer these questions. So yes, so we'll take question from. So yeah, I'll request every one of you to start posting your questions again. Uh,
Okay.
we'll start from this question.
Hmm.
So Tressa is asking, I graduated in September 21. Due to health reason, I don't have any work experience. I have medical documents to show that. However, I was involved in technical projects. Will this gap create a problem?
Uh, Teresa, no, it's not going to create a problem because technically you have been involved in some technical projects. So rather than talking about your medical documents and medical health issues, I would rather say that I was involved in technical projects and they were all linked to what I want to go and study there. So your focus should primarily be towards improvement or your skill sets and the technical projects that you've been doing. Try and build a correlation between these two things. It would definitely work out. So it's not that people with this kind of a gap would have difficulties. I've seen people getting visas. Focus on the selection of the university. Moreover, the kind of technical projects that you've been working here on, look at those kind of programs in the US, and then your career objectives. Build a complete and a straight line in that sense. That would really help. Thank you, Teresa.
So Bumpiest Dig is asking, what is the complete document set that I should be prepared with
Okay,
before my
so
visa interview? So sir, I
okay,
think this will need a complete separate session or at least a dedicated video,
right.
but I would like you to address this very briefly, and I would request every one of you to come back to Zol's channel. We promise you that we'll have a video from Sanjay sir on this topic where he will
Right.
tell us in details about the document you need.
Correct. Very good. Very good. Yes, Manchi, this is what we decided, and we'll be definitely doing that. But to answer this question, the first set, which is the most important document set, is going to be your passport, which should be valid passport, your visa appointment letter, your DS 160 confirmation page, your I-20, and your service fee receipt. Those are the most important documents. And then, of course, because you're going and studying over there, so your education documents. If you've been working, then of course your work-related documents and all your financial papers from your family, which would include tax returns for the last 3 years, bank statements for the last 6 months, proof of investment like fixed deposit shares, bond, mutual funds, copy of property papers. All these financial papers, they do not have to go through a chartered accountant, all right, or a chartered engineer to evaluate your property. You just need to carry those documents when you go in for your visa interview. You must know the total of that. So this is a brief description what you need to carry when you go in for your visa interview. And like Mansi said, we would be coming out with a video which is going to be more descriptive. Thank you.
So Vineet is asking, I am refused in Jan. So can I can so
Okay.
can you book slot in July
All
because
right.
my university starts in 16th of August.
Hey, Vinay. First of all, it is unfortunate that your visa got refused, but don't get disheartened. Keep working on your application, and like I said, in all my conversation up until now, is focus more on your career objectives, the program that you want to go and study. And to answer your question, if you go back on the U.S. Embassy website, they've said that anyone who was refused visa earlier, they would be releasing their dates in August, right? So probably by end of June or beginning of July, they would have date for August, right? So that's when you can book your visa appointment. But you cannot have those slots available for the refused slots in June and July. They would only be in August. Thank you.
So Ariman is asking, sir, I wanted to ask, can we change our I-20 to a different university after we have booked our visa slots?
Ariman, definitely you can do that. Before going in for the visa interview, you can fill a new DS 160, right? And if you've already paid the service fees, then you have to get the service fee transferred from the old university to the new one and carry both the I-20s and both your DS 160 confirmation page. That works out fine. Don't worry. Thank you.
So this is more of a loan related question. Uh, I have completed my 12th standard and I had 79.4%. I only need 7 lakh as tuition fee. Will I get education loan non collateral? Please reply. Sir, would you like to take this question or what should we do?
I mean, look, this is more towards the finance. Like, Saurabh would be a better person who said that, he probably, you can just note it down. And when Saurabh comes
Yeah.
in, you can answer this question.
Sure. So, what I'll suggest it, why don't you join this group and you can ask your questions here. I'll just share the group. So, we have a WhatsApp community where students who want to take loan are there. So, I'll suggest you join this group and ask your question there, and the experts will be able to address your query. Okay, sir. Now we'll move to next question. Uh, so Mudassir is asking, hi sir, I already hold a visa B1/B2 visa. So can I opt for an interview waiver for getting an F1 visa?
Okay. Mudassir, unfortunately, this option has been discontinued by the US Embassy up until last year, which was 2023. The option was available for any student who had a previous B1, B2 could have opted for an interview waiver. Now, when you're filling out your application and when you're creating your profile, over there are certain questions. And it says very categorically, like, if you had a previous B1, B2, you do not now qualify for an interview waiver for an F1. So these services are not valid anymore by the US Embassy, unfortunately. Thank you.
So the next question is from Lakshmi, who is asking, after completing my graduation, if there is a gap of 1 year, which one will be very good course or internship?
Well, it would be better if you do an internship, because that will give you the industry exposure and you can also understand what's happening in the industry and decide the kind of program that you want to enroll or what kind of masters or specialization you would require. So my suggestion would be that, if you can possibly get an internship, you should do that. Thanks.
So the next question is from Raj, who is asking, how much amount is okay to show for visa based on I-20 amount?
Okay, it's a good question because I know that once again on the Instagram or various other platforms, there is something which is floating that you must show 1.5 of the I-20 amount, which is not true. It is not that you have to show double the amount. The officer is looking at the financial strength, not just the availability of funds. So there's a huge difference between these two. All right. So what I'm trying to tell you, if you can show all your funds put together to cover the first 1 year of expense, that's good enough. If you have way beyond that, that's very nice. But not that you have to stack that amount in a saving account, but it is always good to carry financial papers, which is like a spread, where uh, parents would have their funds allocated in fixed deposits or shares or bonds or mutual funds and PF account. All put together is a good amount to show. The first 1 year is good enough, not 1.5 or double the I-20 amount. All right. If you have beyond that, that's very good. It's not that you don't need to carry those documents. It is good to show financial strength, but minimum 1 year of amount. Thanks.
I think, sir, Raj's question somehow summarize why we are doing this webinar. So again, as you said, ki there is something going on Instagram, which is a wrong information, right? So again, the objective of this webinar was to buzz the myths, to break
Exactly.
the noise that is already there on the digital platform.
Correct.
And I promise that Zol will bring you more such webinars where you will be able to, get valid information and not get distracted. So we have another question from Single Life who says ki for pathway programs in US rejection rate is very low, or is it a fake statement?
Okay. So first of all, Manshi, I really appreciate that you brought this up. That a lot of myth which are there going on. There's a lot of noise, and similarly, the last question and this question again, where it says that pathway program in US rejection rate is very low, or is it a fake statement? Now, when we talk about pathway program, so let's understand. Like I said in the beginning, that the visa officers are looking at almost 700 to 800 students in a day, right? Or applications. Most of the students are going for a direct program, right? Now, why would somebody go for a pathway program, right? So, pathway program essentially means that maybe your scores are not too good, maybe you do not specialize in that particular field, so they want to test whether you would actually be, or they can promote you or get involved in that particular program. So that means there is some weak point in your particular or in somebody's profile who's going through a pathway program. So once again, it's a lot of noise. It's not true. So understand yourself. If there are 100 students going for a direct master's program and there are few going on a pathway program, what is the officer thinking, right? So I've given you the answer that the officer would be thinking otherwise. So I would suggest it is always good to get into a direct program, right? Unless there is some kind of specialization and it's a prerequisite of the university. Again, it is very individual kind of a case that we have to discuss, right? But most of the time, like I said, like if there are 100 students going for a direct undergrad or a master's program or a PhD program, why would somebody enroll in a pathway program, right? So think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is from Sambhavi. She's asking, last time my visa got refused and everyone around me told me that happened because I took interview in third country instead of my home country. Can this be a genuine reason?
Okay, so Sambhavi, like I guess this was the question put just few minutes ago, that if I'm not getting an appointment, can I go to the you know, third country instead of my own country? So I said, like if we understand the visa law, the law says that you have to show strong ties to your home country, and if you're applying for your visa in a third country, it would be difficult for the officer to ascertain your strength. So it is always advisable to take your interview in your home country. Once again, this is again a big myth. There are a lot of information which is going around with saying that you can go to a third country. Yes, you can go. Yes, you can apply, which you did. Unfortunately, your visa could not get approved. Unfortunately, it's because once again there's a lot of noise that there are no appointments. You can't get an appointment, and that's the reason students start looking at other options. Like I said in the beginning, the I-20s are issued by the Department of Homeland Security and the USCIS, and I'm sure they would be, providing this information to the US embassies worldwide. The number of I-20s being issued, I'm sure they're gearing up to match up the numbers which are being issued in terms of I-20 and providing those slots. So don't get stressed. I'm sure you'll find an appointment. In your case, this could be a possibility that the officer could not ascertain your financial strength in your home country or your ties to your home country, and that could be one of the reasons that your visa got refused, unfortunately. Thank you.
So the next question is from Jyoti, who is asking, we were told by our college to fill a different name in DS 160 of US point of contact, which is written in I-20. Will it raise some questions during the interview?
Okay, Jyotirma, it will not go to raise any questions, because what is happening is that the I-20s are issued by the ISSO office, but your point of contact is the one who possibly signs your admission offer. So they have different designations, right? So the I-20 usually goes out to a lot of students across the globe, right? But the point of contact, they would allocate certain people for certain regions, right? So if it's different, don't worry. It will not create any problem at all. Thank you.
Sir, Neha is asking, my parents who will be funding my education are NRIs based in GCC. Will this affect my chances of F1 visa approval?
Okay, Neha, no, because this is not the issue, or this would not have a negative impact on your application if your parents are working outside the country. You know, you could always say that there could be, because if you understand it holistically, your parents are there because they have a job option. It's a livelihood. Similarly, a visa officer who's possibly from US is transferred here. So there are a lot of transfers which happens within the company. So they could be transferred over there because of their employment. So this is not negative. So don't worry at all. Thanks.
Sir, I can see there are a lot of questions about gap year and how they should justify their gap, and what should they do, an internship or should they do a course in the gap year. So do you want to summarize it as a whole so that people don't have to ask, we don't have to address everyone, so that
Each
we can
question. Sure.
cover in one go. Yeah.
Sure. Right. So first of all, the gaps. If I look at the Western world, it is not considered bad, right? Because a lot of people in the Western countries, they take a gap year to understand what they want to do. However, in India, the general routine is like, we complete our school, we get into a college. As soon as we complete our college, either we do a higher study or we start working, get an employment, and we get into the role. Now, a lot of things have changed. If you have a gap year and if you're doing something constructively, if you were enrolled in a program, if you've done some Coursera programs, or if you've done internship, which is related to what you've studied, what are the kind of skill sets that you want to, maybe somebody has done a computer science and he's done some few courses on data science or data analytical and wants to do a master's in data analytical, that's fine. You could always justify that I had these options, but my focus was to go and study abroad. I was working on my application for study abroad. I did my SOPs, I did my GREs, my GMAT, my TOEFL, and I was also enrolled in, in these programs, which gave me the kind of understanding that I really wanted to go and specialize in. So you can always bridge that gap by doing those short programs or doing internships. It's not a bad deal. Don't worry. Thanks.
So the next question is, does university rank or brand value impact of visa approval rate?
uh, unless you're going to, let's say, a Harvard or a Yale or a Stanford or MITs, then yes, it has a great impact. But largely, it has no effect. You know, so let's assume that somebody wants to go and do medical science from John Hopkins, fantastic. But if somebody wants to do a management program from John Hopkins, which is one of the top universities, would not make sense, right? So you need to figure out what are the kind of programs that you want to go and study, even if the overall ranking of the university is not good. But if the program is excellent, or if the department ranking is good, then you can still go to a university which is little or much lower than the university which is much higher. So the focus has to be the course content. The focus has to be the curriculum, because that's what essentially you would require to progress in your career. A ranking of the university can give you a opening in through a door to get your interviews, but your skill sets would really matter, right? Like I said, unless you're going to one of the top Ivy colleges, fantastic. If not, then they're at par. Focus more on your career objectives, the skill sets that you'll go and study in the US. What is the teaching methodology of the program? What are the professors? If you can understand all those things, then it is not an issue at all. Thanks.
So at this point, I would like to take a moment and talk about Zolve. So
Sure.
we what Zolve does is Zolve is a US based new bank headquartered in New York, is to make transition from India to US extremely smooth for everyone. We have more than 100,000 active Zolve users in the US at this point. Our major services include US bank account, US credit card, that you can apply for without an SSN, just using your basic documents like passport and visa, and you can apply for before you land in the US. And once you land in the US, you will have your credit card. So you land in the airport and you can book your first Uber ride back to your home using a Zolve credit card, because US is a credit based economy, and Uber and Ola won't take cash from you. So it is always suggested to be financially sorted, because you have many more problems to face once you land in the US. So be financially sound and apply for Zolve. Thank you, sir.
Right.
So we'll jump to next question.
Sure.
So next question is, I have gap year between graduation, done 7 month internship, published research paper in an international conference. If what should he say if he's asked about the gap year?
Oh, I mean, fantastic. You've done great work. I mean, you've done internship. You've published a paper at the international conference. You have to bring all these things. These are your achievements that you've done. So I would not consider this as a gap year. I mean, this is of course it goes in your favor. It's your credit that you've done that. You must take pride and present this to the visa officer that I was doing research because my focus is to understand the future of the subject that you are actually studying or you want to go and study. So use this in your favor. This is fantastic, so don't worry at all.
So next question is from Bhargavi. She's asking, I have studied my engineering for 5 years, 1 year more than the original time. Does it affect my visa approval?
So it all depends, like when was it that you graduated and what are you doing since then. So if you had a couple of backs, and if you can justify what those gaps or those backs were for, and then we can actually help you with the answer. But I have seen people with almost uh, 20 plus backs and still getting visas, right? So again, focus should be on what you were doing here. In case if the officer says why was this bag, you should have a very legitimate reason for that. Not like I was not feeling well, and no. I mean, there could be certain other projects that you were doing. So keep your focus on that, and then straight away jump on saying that I made sure that I cleared everything, and then I started working on my application. And moreover, US education I really like ever since, because it's very practically designed opposed to what we do in India is more theory based, right? So I like a lot of hands-on experience. So if you see my projects, they're very good. So, but I took some time to understand. Or if you're, um, if it was in the initial years, you could always say the transition from my school to college was a little difficult to handle. But I made sure that I cleared everything thereafter. You know. So I've seen a lot of people still getting visas even after having a couple of good number of backs. So please focus and keep motivating yourself towards the positive side of that. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. So we'll take question for 15 more minutes,
Okay.
and then we'll wrap up and meet in the next session.
Okay.
So the next question is from Abrar, who's asking, does enrolling in a newly introduced master's program in the university affect our visa chances?
No, why? I mean, if a master's program has been introduced by a university, that means they've done a research, they've created a curriculum, they have introduced the professors, or let's say that that this program was being taught somewhere else and they've introduced in their particular college. That means they want to have more students. So there is a diversity when you talk about going and studying in America. It's not only just doing your masters, but also when you come out of your classroom, that when you start interacting with the other students, right, that's where the growth happens. So it's not that if the university has introduced a new master's program would adversely affect your visa chances. I don't see that. As long as you understand what your master's program is and what are your career objectives and why have you chosen this university, then I don't see any problem at all. Thanks.
So, sir, the next question is, I got admit in rank number one graduate program in the world by Princeton. Review 4 times in the past 5 years. Should I mention this point during my visa interview, and does it help?
Okay. So once again, like how do you answer this question or how do you put this point across is very important, right? For example, if the officer says, why have you chosen this university? So your first focus should be that I've done my research, I've looked at various colleges, I've got X number of admits. When I compared the course content and curriculum, I really like the program of this particular university because this is what I want to go and study there and this is what they're teaching me. Moreover, it has been ranked as number one graduate program by Princeton Review for the past 5 years. So it has a huge credibility. That's how you answer it. Not that I've chosen this because it's the number one graduate program in the world, because it keeps changing, right? So your first focus should be your career objectives. What will you study there, and then you bring this in as a compliment. Okay, thanks.
Correct. So Gitanjali is asking, will it be a problem if I show a personal sponsor who is living in US full tuition fee for I-20 and then show loan sanction letter for visa interview?
Okay. So, Gitanjali, first let's understand the visa law. The law says that you have to show strong ties to your home country, which includes financial ties. If you have a sponsor living in the US who's taking care of your complete tuition fees, which would also mean that maybe your parents don't have enough money, your financial strength in India is weak, right? So, this would definitely have an impact, right? So, for example, let's say that sometimes we take time to collect documents which are required for the release of the I-20. So we request an relative who's living in the US to show their financial documents to get the I-20. So on the I-20, it could be mentioned that your relative in the US is taking care of your financial expenses. However, when you go in for your visa interview, it is important that you carry financial documents of your parents, because the most important component, or one of the most important component of the interview and the visa officer's mindset, is your family's financial strength in your home country, right? So make sure that you do carry the financial documents of your parents, like their bank statements, their tax returns, the property papers. If you've taken the education loan from India, do carry that as well, even if it's the tuition fees which has been showed by your US sponsor. Still carry your India documents. And when the officer asks you this question, you can always mention the way I explained it to you, saying that our funds were very split out. It was taking us a lot of time to collaborate them together, so we were running out of time. So I asked my relative in the US if they could assist. So it was only to get the I-20. My parents are financially strong. We can take care of our expenses. I'm carrying my education loan sanction letter and other related documents. Thank you, Gitanjali.
Sir, so we have again a lot of questions regarding the visa slot which is opening for summer intake and for fall intake. So I am sure we should do another session dedicated to that. But would you like to summarize it for the audience who are there right
Sure.
now?
Like I've been saying right from the beginning, that don't hear the noise. Whatever is happening on the digital platform, go straight to the US Embassy website. Type down the US travel docs, click on the non-immigrant visa. There a pop-up which comes up. The pop-up, there's an important notice, emergency request. Read that, right? It says very clearly that anyone who's going for the mid session, which is going to be the May session or the June session, they have very categorically mentioned they will not give those appointments. They will not consider even giving an emergency request. They've asked all the students to defer it, right? Because they are gearing up for the fall session, and they would be releasing the appointments for the month in the month of June and July. And I'm hoping that they would start releasing them sometime end of April or beginning of May for June and July. So please read that important notice carefully. Thank you.
We'll take question for another 5 to 7 minutes. So, Sir Hari Haran is asking, my program is a hybrid program, whereas my first 6 month is online and the rest of the program is on campus. I want to know if it will be advantageous for cracking the visa interview.
Okay. It's a good question, Hariharan, because a lot of universities in the US have tied up with a lot of organizations and a lot of universities here, wherein they're doing this hybrid program over here and the latter part in the US. So the first thing is, like, the officer wants to be convinced that you're a legitimate student. By getting into a hybrid program, you've already proven that, right? So US was not your destination, it's a part of your entire curriculum. So it's a good idea, right? However, when you go in for the visa interview, you must understand the benefits and then translate that to the visa officer. Not just saying that I've taken this hybrid program because I it will save cost to me, right? So that's not the idea. You would say that hybrid program, I got into it because I was working here, and it gave me the opportunity to learn while I was working and implement that also while I was working. So create an environment where it is your choice, right? not that it was a reason for you to take this hybrid program. All right. So understand that it's a conscious decision that I did my research, looked at various colleges, I looked at the course content curriculum, I found this one to be really good, and it gave me the opportunity to do a hybrid program where I could start immersing into the program where I could learn, because it is an essential part of what I'm currently doing here in India. All right. If you build that kind of an answer, it goes in your favor. Thank you.
So the next question is from Mr. Anonymous, who's asking if my parents are retired and I am funding the studies from my funds with a collateral education loan. Will it look favorable to the visa officer? I intend to come back for my parents.
Right. So once again, I keep pressing on, like, how do you answer the question, right? The sequence of the question, and you should take the onus, right? So how will you fund yourself? So my parents are there to take care of my expenses. I'm just giving you, though they are retired, I understand that. So my parents are there to support me. However, because I've been working for X number of years, and I wanted to go and study in the US, so I've taken an education loan, because education loans are easily available in India, and I can repay the loan once I return back to my home country in easy installments, and I can also get a lot of tax benefits. So I thought it's a financial planning on my part. So that's the reason I'm going to fund my studies through my education loan. So you're turning this into your advantage. Thank you.
So Lakshmi is asking, I already got refused, but I booked my slot in September. Is there any chance to get emergency visa before August 18?
Okay, so Lakshmi, unfortunately, if a person has been refused, they are not considered for an emergency request. However, like I said, that the embassy would be releasing a lot of appointments in the month of uh, June and July for the August session. So you may get an early appointment. Keep looking for those appointments and you can reschedule it. And the reschedule is allowed 3 times. You know that. Thank you.
So, sir, we two takeaways from this session is that one, we should definitely do a dedicated session about gap years, and secondly, we should do about visa slot openings.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'll
So,
come up with such session soon where we will deeply focus on these issues so that you'll have a clear idea and you won't be carried away by the noise on digital platform.
right.
Yeah. Next question is from Jeffin. Is asking, my mother is a green card holder. Can this affect my application?
So Jeffin, I would like to know that when did your mother got her green card, under which category, how long she's been in the US, when the initial petition was filed, were you also a part of that petition or not? So it's quite a complicated kind of a circumstances that you are currently in. I need to know that completely so that I can give you the answer. It's not a very simple answer for me to just give it to you, because usually parents would get their green cards under the F4 visa category, wherein their siblings would have filed an immigrant visa for them. And usually kids would turn 21 before they get the green card. So I need to understand that. Or was it a employment visa category? What was it like? So it is not going to be a simple answer for me whether it will affect my application or not. Usually no, because you are an individual and you want to go and study in America. So if your focus is very clear, what you want to go and study and how will that contribute, so that should be your focus. And I don't even know if your mother, who's a green card holder, has filed immigration for you or not, right? So there are too many things into it, Jeffin. If you could just post all those, concerns and the question that I've asked you in the chat box for Manchi, and then Manchi, you can send it to me, and then I can possibly answer that. Right?
So
Thank
Jeffin
you.
says she has F4 visa.
Oh, so she was under the F4, right?
Yeah.
So were you included on that or not? So are you? What's your age now? Right. So if he can just give those questions to you, I'll
Yeah.
make sure to answer them and give it to you.
Sure. Jeffin, why don't you join our WhatsApp group and post your queries there so that we'll be able to address that. I'll quickly put the link of the group here so that you will be able to join and then put your case there and we will address that. Yeah. So coming back to the next question. Uh, So there are a lot of questions. I'll have to be biased and select one of them, or do akkad bakkad Bombay Bo in this case.
Right. No, I understand.
Yeah, yeah. So I've heard that private universities' visa approval rates are less compared to public university. And do you say will the visa approval and denials are dependent or acceptance rate of university?
Okay, so once again, this is a complete myth. You know, so if there is a private university, there's a private university, and if there's a public university, there's a public university. It's not that a private would not get preference and a public would get a preference. It all depends on what you want to go and study in the US. The officer would take a decision based on your interview, not based on the university. That's not the criteria at all. So please focus again on the subjects, on the curriculum. I keep repeating myself on what are your career goals, what are the companies that you want to come back and work for. Whichever university you're going for, is that university providing you those kind of skill sets, right? So focus on that. The university, whether private or public, has not much of significance in terms of making a decision for a visa officer. Thank you.
So, sir, we'll take last two questions, right, and then we'll wrap it up this session so that we have some of it left for the next session as well.
So,
So, Jeevan is asking, my parents don't have savings in their bank account. My dad had resigned 5 years ago. Will it affect visa interview as they do not have any savings?
Jeevan, like I said, right, just I guess couple of minutes ago, where the parents were retired, right? So it all depends, what are your parents doing now? Do you have property? How are you funding yourself? So if you give a complete holistic answer, it's not that everybody should have savings, everybody should have property, not that everybody would have savings in terms of fixed deposit shares. So there are a lot of different scenarios which goes into it in terms of finances. So if you're focused, all right. The other thing that I want to also tell you here is that finances, when the office is making a decision, would be considered only about 10 to 15% in making a decision. Rest 85% or 90% of his decision is made on the criteria of you going and studying in America. Do you understand that are you a legitimate student, that you really want to go and study there? You have career objectives, and how have you shown your intention of returning back? If you are able to convince the officer that you're a legitimate student, you understand the skill sets, you understand the program, you understand your career objectives. If you build those answers, then it is easier for the officer to make a decision. Financial part is important, but that's not the only thing that they're considering. They're looking at your case very holistically. All right. So once again, I would like to know more about your parents. What are their let's say they own a lot of properties. Let's say that somebody is into real estate. They would not keep money in their bank. They would invest that money into real estate because that would give them a better return. So that would be the answer. So I need to understand holistically to give you an answer. Thank you, Jeev.
So, sir, we'll take last question and then we'll wrap this session up.
Okay.
Last question is from Ashish, who is asking which
Well,
consulate is better for visa approval.
wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Because I was waiting for this question. And this is again such a big noise on the internet that Delhi is better or Chennai is better. Anybody from Delhi says that I need to go to Chennai. People from Chennai say that I want to go to Mumbai. People from Mumbai say that I. So let's understand that the visa law is the same across the world for India, right? It's a reciprocity between India and the US. So the visa officers are not trained for visa law for Chennai or visa law for Delhi, right? It's again a huge myth. The visa law remains the same. I would always suggest that please apply for your visa in your home country. Please apply for your visa in the state or the city that you are in. It'll be easier for the visa officer to take a decision in your favor because he understands the local much better, right? It is not that Delhi is better or Chennai is better. The visa law once again remains the same across. So please stop, block yourself from this noise that comes in saying that, hey, come to Delhi. It's not like that. So please, better to apply for a visa in your own consular district always. It would really help you. Thank you. Great, Ashish. Hmm. Yes, Manchi.
Yeah, so sorry. I think my internet just dropped.
Huh.
So yeah, so we'll take last question and then we'll take questions regarding Zolve credit card and education loan for the next 10 minutes. So sir, last question is there any medical checkup checkup for
Okay.
us? Is there, if there is medical, is COVID vaccine compulsory?
Okay. All right. So once again, for US visas, there's no medical checkup for US visas. However, when your visa is approved, your university would have asked you to get certain vaccinations done, right? So those are the vaccinations that we've taken when we were kids. So if you have that record, you can go to any of your MBBS doctor or your family doctor who could certify that. If there are certain vaccination which you've not taken, then it's better to take it here. And there are certain which takes almost 3 months for the vaccination to happen. So better that you can go to the US and take them there. COVID vaccine compulsory, not required anymore. That requirement has gone away. So thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much, sir. I think we'll do more such webinars so that it will be easier for people to get their visa approved. I
Sure.
think that is one of the biggest fear that students who are moving to US have. That what if their visa gets rejected? So yeah, we'll make sure to help you with the proper guidance and so that you can make your US dreams come true. Sir, would you like to say anything here?
Sure. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you so much, Zolve, for providing this platform to me and to the students to come together so that they can ask questions and I can also learn and give them my insights because been in this field for good 37 years. So, I understand what is the anxiety of a student. And if we've missed out on any points or if we've missed out on any student, we really apologize because we have time restrictions. But like Manchi said and Zolve said, we'll keep coming on to provide these kind of solutions and to answer your questions to the maximum. So thank you very much for providing this platform. Wishing you all the best. Once again, focus on your studies. Be a legitimate student to understand what you want to go and study there. How will that help you in your career objective? Look at the course content, curriculum. Create that kind of a storyline for yourself. That would really help. Make those answers yours. Do not read what's happening on internet. My friend got a visa based on this. That's his journey. Create your own journey, please. Thank you very much and wishing you all the best. And see you soon. Thank you so much, Mansi. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. Now we'll take questions regarding Zolve credit card, Zolve bank account, and other products, Zolve loan as well. So we have Saurav with us, who can answer all these questions. So if you have any question regarding Zolve, yeah, I think we already have a question, Saurav, from Harish, who is saying how Zolve helps in getting health insurance at an affordable cost instead of taking the university's health insurance.
Definitely, definitely. I am audible, right?
Yeah, you're audible.
So definitely, so ISO, ISO is one of the cheapest low health insurance providers, right? If you know, so we have them on board, right? Who can have, and we through them you can take the health insurance, right? So health insurance is slightly tricky because some universities mandate you to take health insurance from the university. They recommend a provider and you have to take from them, right? For other universities we can help. So definitely you can go ahead and start the application on the Zolve app for the health insurance.
Okay. What is the cost of that health insurance? There's a follow-up question.
Yeah. Sure. So, cost of health insurance actually depends on a lot of factors, right? Suppose which university you are going to, which state you are in, etc. Right. So, it would be slightly difficult to answer on this forum. You can go ahead and you will quickly be able to see what rate you are getting, and then you can take a call if you want to take that particular health insurance or you are getting somewhere slightly cheaper. But so most of the students have said that if universities are applying, we are one of the cheapest providers.
So Ashish is asking, can the Zolve credit card be used in India before going to the US?
Unfortunately, you would not be able to use the Zolve credit card in India before moving to the US, right? So what you can do is load funds into your Zolve bank account, right? So that you are ready from day one in the US to use your debit card and credit card. These are like US debit card and a US credit card. So you don't have to incur a lot of cost on your Forex cards, right? Forex cards are very costly, right? Because they have loading fees, they have transaction fees, and they have number of fees, right? So which all of that goes away. What how Zolve helps there is two things majorly. One, you don't have to incur this cost, and you can get cashbacks as well, right? Who doesn't love cashback as a student? Get some extra money, so you can get that cashback as well through Zolve on every transaction you do in the US.
So our next question is regarding the SIM card.
Mhm.
Chetan is asking, I use Android phone of Realme brand. I saw that the brand are not supported. Will I need to buy new phone?
Yeah, so it depends, right, on the provider. So every provider has the list of phones they support, right? Suppose you are getting a AT&T SIM card or a T-Mobile SIM card. So first of all, like the brands like Airtel, Jio, etc., these are not there in the US, right? The US have famous brands like Mint Mobile, T-Mobile, AT&T, etc., Verizon. So we provide SIM cards for Mint, T-Mobile, and AT&T. So you can check the list of supported phones from their website. If not, if your phone is not supported, then definitely you have to take a new phone,
So
right?
next
And
question is
Mhm.
regarding, yeah, sure, Saurabh, go ahead.
No, 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 please continue.
Next question is regarding loan. So Sai is
Mhm.
asking, can you please elaborate about the financial documents with an example like 40 lakh tuition for 2 years and I have a loan that covers this and other expenses. Will this be enough or need to show funds?
I think this is more related to visa interview, right? So what Sai is asking on how can he show funds, right? So basically whatever is in I-20, right? Whatever, like suppose you are saying that this much percentage you are supporting through loans, this much percentage you are supporting for through suppose your own funds. So you need to have proof to back all that, right? That is very important in the visa process. The proof for whatever funds you get access to or you show.
So yeah, we I think we have already covered this question partially that we
Hmm.
can get Zolve SIM card in India and we cannot get Zolve credit. We can get the credit card as well in India, but it is activated in US. So would you like to
Yeah.
elaborate more on it?
Yeah. So I would like to elaborate on the SIM card bit, right? So SIM card, suppose you land in the US, you have to tell your family back in India that you have reached safely, etc. That's why SIM card is very important, and that's why we have incorporated it as one of the services. We are not a SIM card provider, but we have partnered with brands to get you the SIM card delivered in India at free cost, right? At zero cost. The thing is, we just need time. So if you are saying one day before leaving that I need a SIM card in India, that would be difficult. Do it at least keep 10 days of buffer, right, to get your SIM card delivered in India for applying this all.
So will the Zolve credit card have an airport lounge facility?
So so the thing is, the credit card doesn't get activated, right? Um, Before you go to the US. So lounge you might not be able to, you'll not be able to access, right? And lounge facilities, we have multiple credit cards. One is the classic credit card, then there is signature, and then there is a black, which is a premium credit card. In black credit card, etc., you have lounge access, but for going from India to the US, will not be able to access the lounge facilities.
So Rahul is asking whether this video will be available because he missed the live session. So yes, Rahul, this video will be available on Zol's YouTube channel. So you can once the live session ends, you can always go back and watch it from the beginning. We'll take a few more questions. So if you have any questions regarding Zolve, credit card, bank account, SIM card or loan or any other product, you can shoot it right away.
Yeah, so definitely, right? So just to brief you quickly, we help with your US bank account, US credit card, loans, education loan, primarily health insurance, SIM cards, right? So anything after admission you have to think about, we have some solution for it. and you can get access to all these services by clicking on the link which we have provided and signing up for Zolve. Right on our Zolve platform, you'll be able to. And if you have any questions at any point in time, we are always available at hello@zolve.com, right? Or you can shoot your email or any questions regarding that. I think there is one question from Mr.
Yeah.
Depends on the CIBIL score. So, a very good question, right? So we definitely, so you can get a credit card, right? You have a low credit score, etc. But the amount of the limit which you get will slightly depend upon it. But a lot of you might not even have a CIBIL score, right? At that point in time, university you are going to, the course you are going for, there are multiple factors, right? So, but say that all being said, you always get an option to increase your credit limit, etc. After doing few months of transactions, we see your behavior, and then we upgrade you as well. So all of that is possible. So yeah, CIBIL score is important, but not the only factor. There are multiple other factors which are important to get your credit card and the credit limit you get.
So Ashish is asking whether they can use Zolve credit card instead of Forex cards.
Yeah, so there are two parts to this question, right? So before you land in the US, right, you might have need a forex card or a cash, right, to do transactions in between, right? Suppose you have a transit flight from UK or from Dubai or anywhere. So there you might need to use your international credit card, etc. But the moment you set your foot in the US, you will not require these forex cards, right? And you should not even use this forex card because from then on you can use a Zolve credit card because you'll be able to build your US credit score or credit history, which is very very important in the US. You will incur less cost on these forex cards, and then you will earn cashbacks on every transaction.
I think this is it. We should wrap up this session now. I would like to thank each one of you for joining here. We'll meet again in the next session. Make sure you click on the link that is pinned in the chat box and sign up for the Zolve and check out all the services. And for any other queries, we'll meet again in the webinar and we'll connect and try to solve all your problems. Thank you so much for joining in. See you next time.